When I appreciate an anime that has its pros and cons, I tend to pay more attention to the villain rather than the protagonist. Under normal circumstances, in order to immerse viewers in the story, the author would deliberately design the protagonist to be very close to ordinary people. The protagonist would want a stable daily life or chase their dreams, but is forced to be involved in the villain's plan. While the villains are different, they spend a lot of time and money to achieve a certain purpose, and every action needs to conform to the logic of the plot. Compared with the protagonist's way of thinking of fighting for others, the villain's actions to satisfy their own interests are more in line with the nature of most human beings. Therefore, with some classic works, sometimes it is only necessary to change the perspective to see a completely different story. A villain who is more charming than the protagonist, like Aizen from Bleach, a villain who exudes refined art all the time, or the Major from Hellsing's thirst for war reaches madness, and countless pieces of knowledge are used to achieve the role of villain. Askeladd's charisma in Vinland Saga is a villain that is far more of a main character than the main character himself, Eren Yeager. Well, going straight from being a protagonist to being an antagonist. In any case, they have all killed a lot of people and committed countless heinous things, but it is difficult for the viewers to really hate them. Their personalities are very difficult to be summed up simply as a good person or a bad person. The protagonist of this video is in the same category, a symbol of reason and curiosity. Madeinabys, the Lord of Dawn, Bondrewd. His personality is the same as his white whistle, a handshake between a human and the devil, trading his humanity for knowledge, using illegal and ethically questionable means to obtain funding to conduct his research, developing dangerous drugs, and even experimenting on young children. On the other hand, his contributions to science far outweighs his sins. 10 years ago, he did the unthinkable by establishing a large base named the Idle Front in the deepest area within the 5th layer of the Abyss, as well as securing a route to the then inviolable 6th layer, protecting the ecological balance of the Abyss, and developing a vaccine against the curse of Abyss. In other words, Bondrewd has indirectly saved Delvers far more than the number of children he killed. In terms of utilitarianism, Bondrewd's contribution is greater than that of all the cave raiders, but his connotation is not limited to his contribution. As a person, he is completely free and completely rational, just like the human exploration of new continents to prove that the Earth is round. In fact, proving that the Earth is round was not a very urgent need for human beings at the time. Exploring the oceans had a huge cost and could not bring much profit to the people. A vast majority of people were just interested, as no one wouldn't eat or drink every day, thinking about the needs of, is the Earth round or flat? Nonetheless, this desire to explore is precisely there. Columbus raised the sails, and Armstrong left footprints. At some point, this desire drives some people to go into the unknown, and it is hard to say whether it is of their own will or the call of the Abyss. Bondrewd has the same purpose as the greats of the past, a curiosity about the unknown that almost all delvers have in common. The deeper the dive, the greater the risk when returning to the surface. In the author's words, every delver, including Rico, is full of anticipation and excitement to commit suicide. Looking at those characters in the anime from our perspective, almost every one of them is abnormal. The education received by modern people is full of ethics. A person is not a thing, not something that is only used as a means. Even when we behave in a respectful way, we cannot accept the use of people, especially young children, as objects. A person is great if they sacrifice everything for their own sake. We respect their great will and determination. But if a person is not only willing to sacrifice everything for themselves, but also sacrifice others as well for their own purposes, then that person is truly terrifying. His determination will be greater than the former's. Will and determination will reach horrid proportions. Rico is the former. In order to complete the goal of seeing her mother, she did not choose to break her arm from her elbow, but instead had considered a more self-mutilating method. Coming across anything tragic, she would just be reinvigorated within a short period of time, while Bondrewd is the latter. In order to explore the Abyss, he used his original body as the material of the life-reverberating stone, and divided his consciousness into different parts through the Zoaholic. Up until this point, he is still considered a great man who can sacrifice everything for science, but the subsequent actions of using children as experimental materials can no longer be called sacrifice. That is called slaughter, and is similar yet different from Rico. The line at the climax of the opening song, "Let us pursue the traces of truth. If we can find an answer now, we don't mind sacrificing everything," is the phrase used to describe the Lord of Dawn and Rico, these white whistles. Assuming a human being is made up of a human body and a spirit, then the real Bondrewd is long dead, and the one that exists now is a knowledge-hungry demon who was once known as the Lord of Dawn. This kind of character, who can trample on all moral standards for the sake of science, will also appear in other works, but none of them is as distorted as Bondrewd, and many viewers even like his personality. This is because he is too positive. Negative emotions such as anger and sadness do not seem to exist in him, only curiosity and joy are displayed. Even if the protagonist destroys his research and his body, after a few minutes he changes his body and continues to chat and laugh with you, maintaining polite words and deeds under any circumstances, constantly praising the strength of the enemy in battle, and sending his blessings to them after his own defeat. Besides, it's a bit strange to say that Bondrewd actually really likes children and loves his daughter, Pushka. The tenderness he gave to those children was without any hypocrisy. It was the only pure emotion he had left. By the way, the papa's rod mentioned by Pushka in the movie does not refer to the incestuous relationship between her and her father. Bondrewd probably abandoned the unnecessary concept of reproduction long after he could create his own clone, Hand, at will. Papa's rod was used to generalize male genitalia when teaching Pushka during the dissecting of animals together. However, to dissect the bodies of those precious children, cutting off their limbs, and extracting important organs such as the brains from their bodies, the essence of the human body, to make cartridges, can it really be called love? At least it is for Bondrewd himself. After all, for someone that sacrificed himself in the first place, everything is secondary to his love for the Abyss. As for Bondrewd, he remembers the names and likes of every one of the cartridges and regrets their deaths. He treats all lives equally, including himself, and does not feel that any life is special, nor will he value a certain life. His preference for Nanachi was not for her personality, but for the mystery of the Abyss. Nanachi is the embodiment of the rules of the Abyss, not tainted by curses, and only having blessings. So, in Bondrewd's eyes, she is ever so shining and ever so cute. His attitude towards children is love, which may be more than his own love for himself. It is a scientist's general emotion towards important experimental objects, just memorizing the number and characteristics of each experimental creature. Those experimental creatures are too young. They lived in a bad environment and did not get enough education, which also means that they are extremely lacking in self-judgment. Thus, it's easier to teach them a spirit of dedication. Pushka is the name of a flower that blooms at night and withers at dawn. Bondrewd had already decided how to use it in the future when he named one of the experimental creatures. From his dialogue, it can be seen that Bondrewd has been waiting for someone like Riko who can take her own life as a bet into the Abyss without any hesitation, and Pushka was also ready for the situation, thus being prepared. In a way, Bondrewd had fulfilled his daughter's dream of being a white whistle like her dad. After turning into a white whistle like her father, she went on adventures with friends under the watchful eye of her father. Under the white whistles, the black whistles, moon whistles, blue whistles, and the red whistles are all issued uniformly by the guild members. Only the white whistle is naturally generated from the life reverberating stone. This also shows that the holders of the white whistles have exceeded the needs of human beings for the Abyss. No matter what purpose they have to explore the pit, since becoming a white whistle, the Abyss has accepted their sacrifices and begins to ask for something in return from them. There is no comparison with ordinary humans, only with other white whistle holders. He and Riko are as similar, but different as said before. The Sovereign of Guidance and the Sovereign of Mystery have yet to make an official appearance, and there is too little known information to be ruled out. Take the immovable, Ozen, and Riko's mother, the Annihilator, Liza, to compare. Even the more humane Ozen, who appeared as a white whistle, is a sadist, never showing mercy to children, giving them the cruelest reality and the most painful trials. The other, Liza, the Annihilator, just hearing this title, we can tell that her hands would be covered in blood. She would destroy all enemies in the Abyss. In the past, just as one person took back the treasures that others took from her, and the number of people killed is estimated to be far more than the Lord of Dawn had committed. In the end, she left her young daughter alone and went on a last dive, in which she may never come back. Riko inherited her mother's genes very well. The night she first met Reg, she did all kinds of experiments on his body, and if it were a normal human, Reg would have died in human experiments like those children. At such a young age, there was no hesitation about killing a life. After Pushka became a white whistle, she quickly accepted the reality. Without any thoughts of revenge for her friends, followed her rational judgment to replenish energy and continued on their journey. They did not explore for the benefit of mankind. To put it bluntly, what drives white whistles downwards is curiosity, and all their contributions are just byproducts of their exploration. Poets have expressed their actions as altruistic, thus shaping countless legends. About Bondrewd's personality, It is very similar to another villain mentioned, that is, the Major from Hellsing. Like the two sides of a coin, both of them pursued something to the extreme and would not hesitate to transform their bodies and sacrifice their lives to achieve their goals. But they are facing opposite directions. One is a rational demon full of intellectual curiosity, and the other is a crazy monster hungry for war. Regardless of who, this kind of enemy is the last thing anyone wants to encounter, because they are invincible. Even killing them at the end, destroying all their contributions, can't really defeat them. Maybe they will laugh at the end of their death and praise their opponent, exclaiming "Subarashi." Even if you want to convince them, forget it, this isn't Naruto. After that pointless fight, Rico and the others took Pushka to the depths. Instead of completely destroying the base or killing Bondrewd, perhaps they knew that this place was necessary for the Abyss. Bondrewd also continued to use those children for human trials, and nothing had substantially changed. Now, Rico and the others may understand the meaning behind the title of the devil. The research data he brings can be of great help to science. For other delvers, this data gives them hope of coming back alive, which is why he is called the Lord of Dawn. His contribution is the dawn of hope, while Bondrewd himself is the darkness before dawn.